Hello and welcome to this edition of Berardi and Cook, talking about the away game against Watford. I'm joined by Positive Jay again today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. I'm feeling very positive after yesterday.
We tend to save the predictions for the main podcast, but given that it's you that's on with me, and given that you were the only one that got it bang on, just like, well done.
Mate,
Right.
I've been waiting 2 years for that.
Right, we'll get into it. We'll get a video going and then we'll get into the game.
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Right, just getting the tweet out, get some people on. So just a quick reminder for anybody watching on Twitter is you can get involved in the conversations and comments with us, but you have to go join us on YouTube. The comments don't feed through from Twitter. So if you want to get involved, then you can do, but get over onto the YouTube channel. Okay, let's get into it then. So overall feelings then after yesterday, how do you feel?
Well, I feel a hell of a lot better than I did after seeing Everton's result, I'll tell you that much.
I was a bit of squeaky bum time after that, wasn't it?
I was dreading it, mate. I was just so worried. Like, I thought, oh, God, here we go. You know, everything's looking positive a week ago, and now here we are. Everton have won, and they've beat Scum somehow. And I have to say, they were shocking.
They
so
were
the fact that we
got
dicked by them twice this season is really upsetting, but that's by the by. But yeah, I mean, we had to win after that. It were a case of must not lose before Everton won. And after Everton won, it became a must win, I think.
I agree. So what would that have been? So we had 3 points and we're on 33. I think they're on 28. So yeah, there'd have only been 2 points difference if we hadn't had after they got their 3 points. So yeah, I think must not lose was how a lot of people were looking at it, because they can't gain ground on us. They're behind us. And I think, you know, if Watford get a win yesterday, I think they're 18th. I think they would have gone above Burnley. So it would have put a different complexion on it.
They would. Yeah.
I think the other thing that's a frustration for me, it happened last week. So Chelsea absolutely hammered Southampton, but last week got beat by Brentford. And it's like, well, Brentford joined on points with us. Why have you done that?
I know. And you know that when Chelsea turn up to play us, they'll be like they were yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just typical.
It is. But yeah, so just back to yesterday's game then. So from a perspective of a Leeds fan, we've covered the feelings, but how did you think we played?
Jesus Christ. For 20 minutes, absolutely dog shite, I thought. We couldn't pass to each other. We seemed to just be banging random balls about. They were no better, though. It was just a really, really scrappy start. And it just looked like a bunch of people that had never played together before for the first 20 minutes. And it's weird that, because we often start games really well. We seem to be stronger at the start of most games, at least when we play at home. But yesterday, we looked lost. And it were a bit like, oh, shit, what's going on here? This is going to be a long day. Do you know what I mean? But then we got that goal in like the 21st minute, and we kind of didn't really look back after that. We weren't great still, but we did seem to sort of pick it up a bit after we took the lead.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. I think it was scrappy, wasn't it? I think you could see that were two sides that are down towards the bottom of the table, approaching the end of the season. There were some nerves, and it was scrappy. I don't think, as you say, they were no better. I think in terms of possession, it was so scrappy early on. The goal did seem to settle us down. I thought we played quite well, but then again, either side of half time, I thought they were kind of edging things. They were definitely in the game. They were, you know.
Oh yeah, they were.
But immediately after we scored, it was almost back to that fluid passing that we saw. If you think of the Swansea move for Pablo's goal and that sort of thing, it was that. It was that first time passing, and we were like, "This is what we can do when there's confidence in the side."
That's it.
And I think that they got a bit of a foothold in the game. afterwards, Roy said that they felt they were in the game even when the second one went in. Yeah, and it was only the third one actually that killed the game off.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure about that. I think 10, 15 minutes into the second half, we kind of took hold of that, and I think for the last half an hour, I think the game was there for the taking for us. I don't really agree with his assessment, although as their gaffer, I get why you might say it.
Yeah, me too. I think he has to make them feel like they were still in the game, so that they're not psychologically beaten next time they go out.
Yeah, and just Salanum joins us again. Welcome along. And to just point out, undefeated in the Lilac Strip. I'm torn. I like that kit. I really do.
So was Robin Cox's shirt yesterday.
It was. It absolutely was. He tried swapping before end of game.
I'm not convinced by that shirt, but if we're going to keep winning in it, mate, we can wear it forever for me. So
I asked that in the group chat. I think he would have bundled of nerves at the point at which I asked him, and I said, "Have we won in that strip?" And he said, "Yes, 1-1 and 0-0." And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. We've won 1-1 and we've won 0-0. If we get 3 points from there, we're doing well. But so I think that might be our first victory, but we are undefeated in it. I think if we won it 3 times, that would add up.
I feel like I need to buy one now to wear at games because we're undefeated, but I really don't like it.
I do. I like the kit. I prefer it to the red one from last season, put it that way.
Oh, God, yeah. Infinitely better than that.
So, yeah, in terms of the way that the game flowed and the way that we feel about it, I think if we look at our form now, so I know that Luke had a bit of stick on Twitter about talking about form, and he called it championship winning form. No, sorry, what did he say? Top 4 form, if not championship winning.
Title winning form, I think he said.
Yeah. And he got a bit of stick for that, but we were only talking about 3 games, and in those 3 games we were undefeated. We'd won 2 and drawn 1. And
I was just thinking about
that's a pretty good return.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I wonder if he's gone back to have a word with that lad that got upset.
But yeah, just in the warm-up before we came on, as we discussed, I think especially after the Villa game, and I know that Jesse were there for the Villa game, but especially after that, and how we felt and how deflated I know I was walking out. I mean, I didn't ease up for that one, unfortunately, which is never brilliant anyway. But
no,
I was so deflated after that game.
And if you said to me, don't you sometimes?
But if you'd said to me, it's all right, we're going to take 10 points in the next 4 games, I'd have thought you were a madman. I mean, I do, but I do think you're a madman. But even more, I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No.
So just to ask you the question, in terms of Jesse, I know that there's been a bit of mixed feelings towards him still, and he's still got some work to do. Don't get me wrong. How are you feeling about him now?
Love him. Right behind him. Go on, Jesse. Go team. Go sports. I'm going to get a foam finger.
Like at Gladiators.
Yeah, with a big fucking eagle on it and red, white, and blue. Maybe not red, but we'll have to sort of work on that for him. We'll have to get him like a monochrome version of the US flag or something, so that we don't have to have the red. But being serious, I mean, I don't think we get those results under Bielsa, and it's not a knock on Bielsa. I just think we'd got stuck in a malaise where we were just like too far down that path, and you needed some kind of change of impetus to spur something on and get something out of the players. And I think the new manager bounce, as they call it, has well and truly arrived, and I think that they're starting to understand what he wants from them, and I think they're more comfortable defending in a more traditional manner, to be completely honest. I mean, you got to remember these guys have been playing football all their lives, and they've probably never had to defend in the style that Bielsa asked of them. So as good as they were at times, there were always going to be sort of things that were not natural to them and not instinctive, I think. So I reckon they're now more comfortable with what they're doing. I don't think they're fully sort of ingrained in what they should be doing, but they're getting there. They're picking it up. I think Jesse's even said that himself, to be honest, in not so many words. But I can't fault the guy. I like his attitude. I have questioned him tactically a couple of times. Like, there's been a couple of things I've not liked, like sitting back to protect a lead against Norwich when we won up and ended up conceding, that kind of thing. Yesterday, I mean, we're going to talk about the lineup, aren't we? But not picking KP and the game starting so scrappy like that was probably partly down to KP not being in there. I mean, it might not have been. It could have still been like that. But to me, it just felt like a bit of a mistake not starting him. But on the other hand, as we saw with Bamford, you bring someone back too fast and put them in before they're ready to play the minutes, then, you end up in a worse position, don't you, with a player out for the rest of the season. So you have to trust the manager, I suppose, and accept there's a reason behind what they're doing sometimes, even if it doesn't look obvious. And you can't knock the results he's got. So, he's got some credit there now.
Yeah, he does have some credit in the bank. And I think, talking about getting used to the style of play and things like that, he's for us as fans, I think there's a bit of discomfort there because we're used to seeing the overlapping runs and we're used to seeing width, and he just doesn't play that way. That they're very narrow. I think if you look at the way that we set up and how we had clicking that deeper role and Cock alongside him, kind of marshalling themselves and marshalling the players in front of them in the way that they were pressing with Cooper and Llorente behind them, and you could see that they weren't progressing themselves. They were progressing the ball, but they weren't progressing themselves in the way that we've come to expect of our midfield, and I think that's made us more difficult to beat. But Rafinha had the ball in the second half. I think we were still 1-0 at the time, and he had loads of space around him, and he looked to switch it to left wing, and there was just nobody there.
Yeah,
and it is that thing of we are used to Dallas or Jack Harrison or both of them should be there because
right out on the line waiting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, but also for the players, there's a bit of getting used to that. Having said that, I did really like the interchange. So we had Dan James up front. For all his faults, we know that he's not a striker, but the pressing that he does and the work that he puts in, and not just the work that he puts in, but his willingness to dive into anything that comes up to him. Rafinha doesn't score his goal if Dan James doesn't bravely put himself into a tackle and win it.
No, that's it. I feel like I'm in a position to call him an angry little man. I can sort of empathise with him. I can see where he's coming from. He just gets stuck in.
He does, and I like that. And I think the fact that he does that, and the fact that we're in a position where we've got so much movement ahead of those two in that dual pivot. Which I'm not 100% comfortable with a dual pivot, especially with Calvin coming back, because I think he's capable of doing two people's jobs. But with that approach, what we see is we saw Rafinha coming inside. It would kind of drop it into a 10, and Dan James was going and pressing, and you had Rodrigo and Jack almost kind of floating. I'd really like to see the average positions. We know that they'll look narrow, and actually. From Watford's perspective, they had time on the wings, but they didn't really hurt us. So that setup that we've got and the way he has made us more difficult to beat. He's made it that the opponents don't get that space inside, and that's really where they hurt you. So in terms of setup,
the half spaces.
Well, and between the lines, it is, and marshalling the channels and the men running the channels rather than just going man for man. Holding the shape that we've got at the back. I think, I were a centre half. I'm much more comfortable seeing that rather than seeing Firpo at right wing because that's where his man's gone. That
I don't think he were there because his man's gone there. I think he just didn't know what he were doing and didn't know his right from his left.
So there's a bit of getting used to things for us as well as the players. But there's no getting away from the results, as you mentioned. So for me, I think he speaks well. He doesn't go in for all the soccer and all of that stuff. He's made sure that's not how he's coming across. And I think that when he was talking, he talked to Lineker, and he mentions that. Lineker asked him about
Ted Lasso again.
He did, yeah. So that tag's going to be there for a while, if not for all of his time in English football. But at the same time, I think he's handling it really well. It comes across well in the media, and I think that the way that he speaks, he's clearly got the knowledge of the game that you look for in a coach and a manager. So, I was a bit unsure at first. I was 100% convinced we were going down as soon as they made the decision to pull the trigger on Bielsa. I couldn't see anything else. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen you that negative.
No, so I think from that, we're in a position now where we can look forward, and that's a pretty big deal. So I'm interested to see how the summer will go, the transition from the playing squad that we've got now into moving forward, and in terms of the playing squad that we've got, there's not been huge changes to it. There's been additions, but the outgoing players, Alioski and Pablo and so on, did move on. But there's not been wholesale changes, so it'll be interesting to see how that's approached.
It's mad how not only Rodrigo seems to have stepped up under Marsh, but also Greenwood. Greenwood's looked unreal when he's come on.
And he did mention him, didn't he?
I didn't really rate him in the first team.
He's got an edge to him that I like. I don't, we don't know yet. It's very early on. We don't know yet if he's going to have the skills and the capability to career in the Premier League. But he's got a little edge to him that I do like. He's got a little bit of click about him.
He plays some great balls.
He does. Yeah, I think he would have won that played Jackie in for the third, wasn't he?
I think so. Yeah. Didn't he play the ball that Rodrigo got onto when their keeper screwed up and the defender?
No, that was Raf, I think, wasn't it?
Was it? I've got him made with Greenwood.
I'd have to go back and have a look. He'll be on in a bit. Look, be on it. Yeah.
You're a fancy bastard.
Yeah, so I think if so, let's come on to the lineups then. So, I mean, for me, the immediate thing that stuck out was, oh my God! Not only have we got no Calvin, we've got no Forshaw either. And you mentioned how scrappy it was to start with. Well, Click's been playing that deeper role. He's not been playing it alongside Cock. He's been playing it alongside Forshaw. So there's a bit of getting used to things there as well. And for all he's willing in his endeavour, Cock is not Forshaw or Phillips on the ball, and he's not gonna be.
He's a good player, but you can tell it's not his natural position.
Yeah. So I think in terms of the lineup, we spoke about how nervous we were. Oh, there we go. 2 useless Watford defenders get the assist.
There you go.
But I think from a perspective of the lineup itself. So when that came out, if we go back to how you felt, I know we were already nervous, especially with the Everton result early on in the day. But how did you feel when you saw the lineup?
I couldn't believe it. Honestly, I was looking at it like, what's going on here? What do you mean, no Phillips? What? Hey? And I was just, I think I said in the pod chat, like, he's dropped a bollock here. I don't understand what's going on. I don't get why he's not picked him. But
and he did say after the game, in terms of Phillips, he did say after the game he wanted to start him, but he just didn't think he had the minutes in his legs.
I mean,
I guess bringing him on towards the end is better.
Like I said before, if he ain't got it in him to play the full game, then I can sort of see where he's coming from. But like we all assumed he were fit, didn't we? We all thought he were good to go. So it was just a bit of a shock seeing that lineup. And I don't know, we kind of expected that Joffin might play, but then there was a doubt because he'd not trained much after the dead leg.
Yeah,
so,
I was absolutely convinced he wasn't going to play because he'd not had the full week's training. So even if he were fit enough for the bench, I didn't expect him to start. Just because he'd not had that full week's training.
Yeah, I knew he probably wouldn't. I was hoping he might, like a shock, but I knew he probably wouldn't. But I mean, I couldn't really fault the lineup other than the Phillips thing. I mean, everything else was all right. But then Forshaw dropping out, that was a shocker as well. To then have no Phillips and no Forshaw, I was just a bit like, fucking hell, what's going to happen here? We're just going to end up like getting sliced apart in the middle. But luckily we didn't. They were shitter than we are, so we're all right.
So Salenum's just popped up with a comment there. It'd be interesting to see if Jesse can work his magic on Firpo, the same as Rodrigo, or if our Barca left back is a lost cause. It's a fair shout because
We'll have to see.
Well, it's completely night and day, isn't it, Rodrigo? That he's now. I think it might have been you that said it in the group chat or on Twitter. I can't remember, but he's now the player that we hoped we'd signed when we signed him. And I think that leadership group that's been talked about is a pretty big deal. So it will be interesting. Firpo's played at some big clubs in some big games.
Yeah, there must be something there.
Yeah. So
and he has looked all right occasionally.
And he was really highly rated before he went to Barca, and I know that he had his troubles there. I don't know if they were all injury related or if some of it was just a dip in form that he just couldn't rest back. But he was really, really highly rated when he went to Barca. So there was
He
definitely
yeah.
something there.
The
So
way teams move is different in the Premier League as well. So he's still learning. He's still getting used to it.
yeah,
The way people are, where they position, the sort of way that the ball's played, and the passing movements that top Premier League teams seem to do, it's very different to how Spanish teams play. So there is an element of that in there.
It is, but if we look at the impact he's had on Rodrigo pretty much overnight, Rodrigo came from Spain. Yes, all right, he's played more games. He's been available for more games, importantly so. So I think from that, it will be interesting. I wouldn't want to say either way.
No, we're not making any bold predictions about Junior Firpo here. We're not doing it.
But it's absolutely right to call out. It will be interesting to see. So I think if we look at the shape of the game, I think there were one chance. I mean, they did have their chances. You can't get away from that. I think Sam missed a one-on-one. I mean, absolutely swiped at it and put it wide in the second half.
Oh God, yeah. My heart dropped right through my body and out my ass when he got through on that ball, and I just thought, oh God, here we go. And I couldn't believe it when he fucking blasted it somewhere else.
Yeah,
because he never got round it with his foot, did he?
No,
he was trying to, but he didn't get there, so he went straight through it instead of round it, and saved us. Did that? I think. I don't think.
Yeah, just shanked it
if he'd got a good connection.
And the other one was it was a Melia saved it anyway, but it were a brilliant save. I know he was offside.
The offside one.
Yeah, but Melia didn't know that at the time, and it was a brilliant save. But
he made some fantastic saves yesterday.
It did, and I think that's an important point, because if you consider that, well, if he's made some good saves, then they must have been in the game, and it goes back to the point that we made early on. It wasn't an easy game. I think they were impacted a little bit by an early injury. Dennis is a decent player to bring on. We mentioned in the lineups before the game, but I think the fact that it's Hernandez that went off in it. Is it Cucho Hernandez?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He's been playing well, and he's been scoring
I'm
goals.
Quite pleased to see him go off. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. But Dennis is a good player to bring on. So I think I don't think that harmed him as much as it could have done. But it's that principle. They definitely were in the game, and I think when you're looking at an opposition like that, we kind of expect to do better than that, but you've got to earn the right. And I think that was the important point, is that we did.
Yeah, that's right. You often hear managers say, don't you? You've got to earn the right to play the way you want. And that's true, you have.
So if you look at their side then, I won't lead the witness. I'll just ask the question. If you were offered one of their players, who would you pick?
I'd probably take Sarr. I like him. I think he's got something about him. He's obviously needs refining a bit, but there's a lot of talent in there. Yeah,
I think you're right. I think actually any of their 4 forwards, so Hernandez that went off, Dennis that came on, and João Pedro, picking any of them, I think it's fair.
Isn't it weird though that they have such a decent array of attacking talent, yet where they are and don't seem able to really use them properly?
Yeah,
because they've got some good players.
They have, but I think we're just in amongst that, they've got some decent attacking talent. But I mean, I would just about to knock the midfield and defence, but they've got Sissoko that were at Spurs. He's not a bad player.
Oh yeah. Sol says take the keeper to mentor Elan.
Well, yeah, no, it's not a bad shout.
He's winding down now, playing for Watford, so he must be winding down.
Well, I say it's a good shout. In next scummer, although we can't really be too hard about that with Dan James.
Well, yeah. As long as you renounce them when you enter Elland Road and you burn any items that you have with any scum badges on, then we'll forgive them. Or at least put up with them.
just a point there for Michael Brown. Since Liam Cooper joined Leeds United in 2014, he's played now under 10 different managers: Hockaday, Milinic, Redfern, Rosler, Evans, Monk, Christensen, Heckingbottom, Bielsa, and Marsh. Just insane.
Some distinguished names there.
Absolutely.
Hell.
Yeah, I think. I mean that is crazy. Although I think March has come out and said actually he's one of the best captains he's worked with.
He said he's the best captain he's worked with.
Did he?
He said he let him give the post game talk to the players.
So, we really have missed him. If we reflect on the last time we got a clean sheet, 27th and 30th of November were the last clean sheets until yesterday, and Liam Cooper started in all those games.
I've got all my hands up and say we clearly have missed him. I think we miss his leadership ability more than we miss his footballing ability.
There was
solid,
actually a comment made on that one. Hang on.
It's been solid.
Let's find it. There was definitely a comment. I think it was Lanham.
Something about shouting at people to get into position.
Oh, no, it wasn't. It was 8-ball all. We pressed well from the start, but Cooper had to shout a lot organising. Didn't look happy. Got the impression he was making them concentrate on positioning. Explains conceding when he doesn't play. Absolutely. I mean, and that's right. I think if you look at technical ability, I think Llorente is probably our best centre-back. If you look at potential, I think Stroik's got the most potential. But if you look now, in terms of all-round, the leadership, the positioning, the reading of the game, and the winning their duels and so on, I think Cooper's clearly at the moment our best defender, our best central defender.
Hard to argue at the minute. Much as it pains me, it's very hard to argue.
Oh, you are a Cooper-rating bastard, aren't you?
Well, that's it, This is difficult for me.
And just another point, a follow-up point from Michael. Leeds were conceding 2.35 goals per game under Bielsa, now down to 1.3 goals per game under Marsh, a reduction of goals conceded 44%. I think that's right, but you also have to reflect on the fact that he's got a side available to him.
There is that.
And yes, a lot of that was Bielsa's doing, having that thin squad that we know that he works with, but, it's no surprise that we get some better players back and we start playing better football.
That's true. But there is also the new manager bounce as well as getting players back. And it's just it's kind of like a perfect storm. Everything's come together at the right time.
And it is at the right time. We needed it, didn't we?
Get us out of it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So in terms of the subs, so we saw Phillips come on for Click after an hour. Hello. We saw Calvin come on for Click after an hour. Greenwood came on for James just under 10 minutes later, and then we saw Somerville come on towards the end of the game. So we've already discussed the impacts that we felt that Greenwood had. I think he did play well, and Marsh has already reflected on him. In terms of the subs, the timing of them and so on, how do you feel about the impact that they have on the game and the decisions he makes?
He got it right, didn't he? We won the game, so I can't really argue. I think it were a bit weird, like Rodrigo didn't seem to come to life until the second half, really. I don't know if the subs had anything to do with that, to be fair, but Greenwood, as I said, he were great. He came on at the right time because at 2-0, I think. Was it 2-0 or was it 1-0? I can't remember now. But we needed to score again. Anyway, I just remember thinking we need to get the next goal here. Greenwood came on.
Sorry, did you mean did he come on at 1-0 or 2-0?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
He came on 67th minute, it'd have been 1-0.
Yeah. But I remember thinking we need the next goal here, and then he came on and he started spraying balls about, and he was playing some great passes. And it was just the impetus that we needed at that time in the game, I think. So I can't knock that from a tactical point of view. I don't think there were anything wrong with any of the subs, to be fair. I mean, we used to be baffled sometimes, didn't we, with Bielsa and his subs? And, there were a time when it'd be Tyler Roberts coming on, wouldn't it? And we'd all be groaning,
And not just that,
Sam Greenwood coming on.
Yeah, and not just that. Well, I mean, let's be fair. If Roberts were fit, that's probably the sub that gets made there.
I'm not sure it is anymore, to be fair. He was just starting to fall out of favour, wasn't he, at the end?
But that one did a different gaffer.
I know.
he's obviously brilliant in training. There's obviously stuff that we're not seeing.
No, surely 2 gaffers in a row can't be suckered in. I'm not having it.
So I think it is fair. I think the other thing in terms of the subs is when we were seeing Bielsa making subs, we were seeing him moving, especially if it was an injury. We were seeing him move 3 or 4 people around to accommodate one sub, and you're thinking, but if you make that sub instead, you're not going to have to do that. Just change the one player.
Yes. I remember moaning about that in that game. Was it Villa? Or was it someone else? Fucking hell, I don't remember now. But there were like 4 people had to be moved because he brought one person on.
Yeah,
and everyone was just baffled.
Was it when Firpo got injured? Firpo could have got injured. So I think Firpo got injured. We could have just moved Dallas to left back, where he's playing now.
Yeah, Bill ended up at centre back instead. Somebody else at right back, and then someone else got put in midfield. Oh, mate, come on. You unbalance the entire team when you do that.
Yeah, I think Strike ended up
And
in
all
midfield, and Dallas stayed there. And then Bill moved inside, and we brought somebody else on at right back to move somebody else to left back. And it was just, why unsettled?
And all
Because it just
your week that
unbalances
you've
them.
done, all your week you've done of tactical planning and telling players where they need to be and what they need to do, it's all out the window then.
Yeah.
Because they're no longer playing where they were playing. They're no longer looking after the same man. They're not looking for the same patterns of play to break up or whatever. They're doing different jobs. And that's all off the cuff then, because they've not been briefed for that.
Yeah.
And, I know that he trusted the players and believed in them and all that, but there's only so much that any human being can do. You go out there with instructions, you've got your game face on, you're ready to go. Suddenly all that's gone. And it unsettles you. It's going to unsettle anybody. So I didn't.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of getting used to when you change positions. Of course, it is. Everybody needs a bit of time. Morning, Smarty, you big good looking bastard.
Morning.
Well,
it's afternoon now, actually.
Oh, it is. And just another point. Michael's in the comments today making some good points. By the time Leeds play their next match against Palace away on 25th of April, if Burnley and Everton win their games in hand, Leeds will be in the bottom three. That is true. However, for Burnley to win their next 3 games, and they did win their last one, will be 4 on the bounce. And that's how many they've won all season.
Can't see it, can you? Title winning form.
It is title winning form. and that is genuinely, that's how many they've won all season. So it's possible, but at the same time, it's exceedingly unlikely. I think
they have a couple of games where they only have about 3 days between them as well. So hopefully that'll play into our hands.
And equally, I think on the 30th they play each other, or is it Burnley Watford that play each other? But yeah, I think the thing that'll play into our favour there is not only are the shit and unlikely to win all of those games, but equally the sides down at the bottom do still need to play each other. So there's only so many points can be handed round. So I think from that perspective, it's kind of we're in that position where we don't expect them to be picking up that many points, but they could. But
there
certainly,
danger,
you can't see both of them doing it, and that's the other thing. I didn't see Everton beating Scum, especially having been beat by was it Burnley the week before. So I didn't see that coming, and so we have to caveat it to say, they could go on a run, but are they both likely to do that? It's even less likely that they both do.
The odds of that happening, I'll tell you what, absolutely crackers, man. I'm not having it. I refuse to believe it.
You'd be able to pay off a mortgage from a fiver, wouldn't you?
You would. I refuse to believe it's even a possibility. I'm not having it. But I'm going to be worried until it's no longer a mathematical possibility. It's just going to bother me because it is possible technically, and we're Leeds. So
until we're mathematically safe, we're not.
We have to do our own jobs. We need to get some 4-0 wins and sort that goal difference.
Well, but by that same token, I think when we're in a position of looking what's going on, we do have we do have a crazy situation where I think I was just trying to remember. That's why I'm padding a little bit. Whether it was 9th or now 8th, I think we're 4 points from 9th, and 9 points from 18th. So all of this could change completely. We could end up in 9th again, like we did last season. There's all sorts of different things could happen because there's no massive major differences in the terms of the points that have been picked up so far. There were talk of Brighton are banging trouble. Well, they went and they beat Arsenal, and that for me that were a bit crazy. But yeah, we're in that really weird position at the moment where those sides, so City and Liverpool are going for the title. And then all of the sides behind them, right down to Wolves in 8th, are kind of in that second tier. And then the rest of it is kind of anybody's. Anybody that puts a run together, and let's remember, we've won 3 and drawn 1 in the last 4. Anybody that puts a run together can really make an impact in getting up the table. And the amount of money that's available for finishing even 2 or 3 points better positions in the table better off, it's huge. So I think, just another point there from Smarty. People strumming one out over the fact Marsh has improved the goals conceded when we're playing teams like Watford, Southampton, and Norwich. Yet Bielsa had to face Scum, Liverpool, and Tottenham in his last 3 games in 1 week. We'll see how fantastic Marsh is when we play Chelsea and City, who are dicking people for fun. It is fair. It's the right call out. And I will be fair to Smarty and not ignore the last one. I do like Marsh, though. Sick of seeing people saying he's turned us around drastically. You do have to take the opposition into account. We might have scored more goals under Bielsa. You know, we had that capability of taking teams apart. But I think from that view, we do have to be realistic about the sides that we're playing against. I think we might have lost Jay. Solana, I thought it was 2.1 million per position, Solana, but yeah, chimed in with 2.2. That's fair. So just to talk, and feel free to get into the comments. We've already got one in from Alison and Marty. 3 or 4 more points and we'll be safe. I think 3 or 4 more points does really put us in a much stronger position in terms of the table. When we're looking there, that'll take us up to 11th, which just seems really crazy to me. We're just bringing Jay back in now. Hello.
My internet's aneurysm, but only on my laptop. The phone's working fine, so God knows what's going on here.
Right. Okay. Just talking about the number of points. So I think from a view of the table and where we are now, how many more points do you think that we need to get in order for us to get to that position of safety?
Oh God, I think probably 3 points, to be honest. Although it looks quite close at the moment, I think that's probably enough. People were saying 35 before, and I'm doubting that now because when there's teams that can still catch us, that worries me a little. So
yeah, no, that yes, but at the same time, Burnley are on 24.
Yeah,
you know they'd have to get, and I think they've got so they've played 29, so they're running out of games. And as you mentioned before, they've got 3 matches in a week. And they have only won 4 all season. It's unlikely.
Yeah, no, that's it.
And I know we're talking unlikely. Yeah,
unlikely,
but equally
not impossible.
Yeah, but equally, you add 3 or 4 points to us, and all of a sudden there's quite a few sides below us. So it is going to be a dynamic table between now and the end of the season. I think there's going to be all sorts of sides swapping around and moving around. At this point in time, we are joint 15th, which sounds better than we are 16th. Our goal difference is poor. Only Watford and Norwich have got a worse goal difference. But we're not massively a million miles away now. So in my high-powered AI computer algorithm, back of the envelope, says we need 2 more points.
Possibly. I think that might be cutting it a bit fine now. I would have said 35 a couple of weeks ago as well. But we'll see. I was going to say, actually, we digressed a little when we were talking about the subs. I was going to say, I was pleased to see Somerville get on, by the way. Just because after the performance that he put in for the 23s, I feel like there has to be a reward. There has to be some incentive for them players. So it was really nice to see him get on. Yeah,
absolutely agree.
And I think insane.
It is, isn't it? I think you're right. That we've seen. I think there were mention of several players that has to go out on loan because they weren't seeing that pathway into the first team, and I think it's important that we see that. I know that we've got players injured still. We mentioned Tyler, and obviously we've got Bamford. So further up front, we do expect that there's going to be opportunities, but that's how you get your opportunity as a young player, is filling in and taking your opportunities when they arise. Yeah.
And at this point now, where we're talking about sort of how many points we need and stuff like that, if we can boost that squad with a few enthusiastic young lads who are dying to get in there and show what they can do, that can only be a good thing for us in this running.
I agree. I think just going back again to another comment, and I'm going to give Selenium the approval before I've seen. Oh yeah, it was. In terms of the subs, it's a double-edged sword. When they do well, it makes it less likely we'll be signing in summer. It is a fair point. I think there's been a lot of talk around Aronson, but not a lot of talk around others. I think what will probably dictate, and I know that Orta's in a position where he's talked about maintaining a slim squad. I don't think it'll be as extreme as it is. And equally, I don't think we'll be in a position where the injuries are as horrendous as they have been, because I've never known that I'd have so many injuries in the way that we did. In fact, the last time I remember it, I don't know if you remember that there were a Champions League game where actually we could have put out an entire first team of the injuries that we had. They flashed it up before the game. It might have even been the Barca game. Sky flashed it up before the game. So, we're talking decades since we've had an issue like that all at the same time, and it just happened to come at the same time as we had a gaffer that had a desire of a thin squad, and that's how he works. So, I guess that you mentioned the words perfect storm previously. It's just a negative aspect of a perfect storm, this one. But we are able to look forward, and like I say, there has been talk of Aronson. And clearly he knows the player. So if he's able to bring in somebody that he feels is going to really bolster the squad, things we got. If we look at the bench that we had yesterday, and we had Calvin on there, and all right, Forshaw wasn't available, but Cresswell being able to come in, Hjelde has done well when he's played. Joffrey was there, and I know these are young players, Struijk as well, and Klaassen impressed me when he came on. I was really scared when he came on.
Reminded me something there. Did you see Marsh said that he were planning for Klaassen to play yesterday?
Yeah, he was still struggling. Was Meslier, wasn't he, with the injury, and there was a possibility that he wouldn't have played. Yeah,
could have been a very different game.
Well, it could have been, but he did impress me when he played. I think he's more than any other player I've ever seen, and I am reflecting on the under-23s game at Elland Road, which would have been very different to the under-23s games he'd played for us previously. But it wasn't even a major mistake. He just, I think he slipped when he was clearing a ball or something, and his confidence just disappeared completely.
It's easily done, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
When you're under pressure like that, and you are the backup to the first team keeper, and you think, shit, I've fucked it.
Yeah, and so that was in the under-23s. When he came on for the first team, he made some really important saves. He did well.
Could be argued he won us that game.
So I think on that, it is important that we have that capability on the bench to come on and influence games. And all right, Phillips and Struijk is a first teamer, so they're experienced players now. Yeah. I think having that, but you can't just rely on the kids coming in, and it was said yesterday about having 15-year-olds on the bench, and that Premier League football club should not be in a position where, unless that 15-year-old is the best youth player in the world and has earned his right on the bench, you should never be in that position.
No, absolutely not. And I think with the move to 5 subs next season as well, it's going to make it even more important to have a decent squad with some decent experience in it, because other teams will have, it'll be a lot easier for a team you're playing against to change a game if they've got good players on the bench and you haven't.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout. I think in terms of Smart has just made another point in the comments there. Marsh doesn't have the injuries that Bielsa did. Also, Dallas is a winger, not a left back, so Marsh is also playing people out of position. I think that's...
He hates Marsh, doesn't he? He hates him.
Sorry, I'm being asked to move to the side. I've got the highlights on. Anybody listening on the audio pod, I've got the highlights on behind me, and I'm being told to move out of the way. I think just touching on Dallas, I thought he was one of his worst games for us. I rate Dallas. I think he's a proper baller, and he can do it pretty much anywhere. But I thought he had a pretty poor game yesterday. He was out of position quite a bit. In the transitions, he wasn't in the right space. And again, there's still some getting used to the lineup and the positioning. But
he's a loud one.
But yeah, absolutely. And he's got, we mentioned about Marsh getting some credit in the bank. Dallas has got more than enough credit in the bank.
No one's got more than Stuart Dallas.
But I think, and actually, in terms of the natural knowledge of the game and so on, he seems to be. I think we'll see him being a very successful manager in the future with Dallas, because he just seems to get it.
That, you've got to be good at reading the game to be able to play in so many different positions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You must have your head screwed on.
Yeah, for me, he did have a bit of a poor one, but like we've said, he's got the credit in the bank. So I do think it'll be interesting to see how the shape of the squad looks going into next season once Marsh has had making the change when we did for all of its stress that it brought with us actually gives him an opportunity to work with the squad ahead of the summer, understand the players that he's got, and if we'd have gone down, that would have been seen as the worst decision in the world. And when
100%.
we don't, that's a big if. And then when we don't go down,
when we don't,
we're in that position of he's had an opportunity to work with him. He knows what he's got. He knows what he needs. So as long as we're in that state of he gets the backing that he's looking for, fantastic. That's great.
I've just got visions of us staying up and Rad's getting pissed at the end of the season, ending up on stage with his tie around his head, saying, fuck all you that thought I were wrong.
Told
fuck
you.
You all, haters. Then he'll get on Twitter and start fucking quoting people and dishing it out again.
And just while we're on the discussion of the management of the club, just a little video that was shared on social media yesterday.
Well,
Victor Orr having a bit of win or lose. We're on the booze with the fans. Like a bit of that.
Love it. He might be a bit of a weirdo, but he's our weirdo.
So, in terms of, hang on, let me just move to the side a bit. There we go. Right, we've seen a bit of the rough go. In terms of performances, then. So I'm going to put you on a spot and just ask who you felt your man of the match was.
Oh God, I'm going to give it to Melier for some of them saves that he made.
Okay,
because
so
I was looking at sort of Rodrigo, looking at Raf, but Rodrigo didn't do much for the first half, although they were awesome in the second. Raf did some good bits, but went missing a bit in between the good bits, and I'm just going to give it to Melier. I feel satisfied with that one.
So in terms of the BBC website, and I don't know how they derive their figures, some of them are weird. Melier's 9th.
Plucked out the air. 9th. To be honest with you, I was watching the game with Carl, so I don't remember many specifics. That's just what's stuck in my head, man. I just remember being impressed with some of the saves that he made and stuff.
That's
while
fair.
also slagging off his distribution, but loving the saves.
And I'll also say, in fairness to you, that Rafinha and Rodrigo had 1 and 2. And you did also mention them, so I'll give you that.
I tried to steer away from the obvious choices. That's all.
For me, and he's not in the top 3 either. I'm going to say Cooper. Now we've won 3-0, and we've gone with a centre back and a keeper as our man of the match. But I think
it's weird that
but reflecting on the clean sheet position that we've mentioned earlier on, and the fact that. He was barking out orders and he was telling people when he wasn't happy with them. And do you know what? Yeah. That's what we've missed as well.
We need
somebody doing that. We really do need that. Any side needs that. And I think, he's not. He seems like a lovely guy. I don't know him, but he seems like a lovely guy. He interacts with fans well. He manages his social media and just his personality well. But do you know what? He went backwards and coming forwards if they weren't doing what he wanted. He were getting into him, and I like that. You need that from your captain.
Absolutely.
So I think, I think it's. I'll go with Cooper on that one. Although I see why you went with Melier, and Rafinha's goal set us up. It gave us a platform from which to succeed, and I think that it was a peach of a goal. I think.
Can you believe it hit the woodwork again though? Luckily on the right side this time.
Yeah. He does. And what he also loves, I think, if you look at the way that he celebrated, and I think he can't remember, but if you think the way that he celebrated Rodrigo's goal as well, and I'm just going to check, had he gone off at that point? So Somerville came on 83. No, it would be far. So he was still on the pitch. Somebody had mentioned on Twitter. Look at him; he loves it. But yeah, he was still on the pitch at that point. But he does love it, and the way that they celebrated together, it was great to see. And I think
you can tell they're good mates. Them two, they're obviously getting on well.
Yeah, and playing well together, and I think that can only be good for us.
Did
as
you
long
see
as
him
we
with
keep them
headphones
together.
on?
I did.
But
it was a gambling company I won't name on here, PP, that said, when you're playing at 6 but you're DJing at Pop World at 8 or something like that.
Quality.
So yeah, So I think if we look at just the other results, I know Smarty's made a point, and it is a fair
Alistair
point.
Marty agreeing with you.
Yeah. It is a fair point that we concentrate on what we do and not what others do. That's important for the players.
That's 100%.
And that's what Marsh is saying. But us as fans, I can't just ignore what everybody else is doing.
Of course we can't. Of course we can't. We're
Everton winning was
blinded by our
disappointing.
passion, aren't we? Whereas, Marsh has to be clinical and sort of keep it objective and just stick to the task.
Yeah, but Everton winning was unfortunate. We didn't want that, even though I wanted both of them to lose. Brighton beating Arsenal, a bit of a surprise, but that kind of moves Brighton away. We would have been 1 point behind them if they hadn't picked up 3 points there. So a bit of a surprise, but not only did Arsenal have to play Xhaka, but they played him at left back. He's not even a good midfielder, so playing him at left back's not going to be great.
I'll tell you what, I'll just mention before you move on, just Graham Potter Graham Potter got Phoenix Knights on the brain.
I want to move I want to moonwalk so, but life's a shit house.
He's starting to look more and more like an homeless person over the last couple of months, hasn't he? So I'm just wondering now they've won a game if he's going to be like right as rain again. He's going to come out clean shaven next game, and he's like a new man. Do you know what I mean? I'm just wondering.
What, you think he wants shaving until the one?
Well, yeah, it's starting to look like he's gone downhill, like he's let himself go, like it's all just got too much for him, I just feel like he's been in this pit of misery on this constant run of defeats, and now, like, sun's shining, he's got up this morning, opened his curtains, he's singing, he's gone and had a shave, he'll be like a new man.
So, just look at the others. Yeah, Chelsea absolutely dicked Southampton. If only they could have done the same to Brentford, they would be below us in the league.
How did they not?
God knows. Fair play to Brentford. They were at that game right from the outset. They were at them, and they deserved a win. So fair play to them, even though I don't like saying it. But they're still joint on points with us.
Though. Teams that we hate rolling over. For
I want to sing Mind the Gap, Thomas Frank. I don't want to be a gap where we're behind.
Too right. Fuck that.
Obviously, then we beat Watford, and Villa got taunched by Tottenham. I did point out again that when we were getting beat 4-0 or by 4 goals by Tottenham, that the world was ending, but then they've done it to 2 other teams, and that seems to be all right. So Villa are only 3 points in front of us.
Though, was it?
Come on,
there's a context.
Come on. So that's yesterday's results. But then if you look at today's fixtures, there is there's a couple, but the Norwich Burnley one sticks out for us as an important one. I think if that's a draw, or Norwich are down, but if that's a draw or a Norwich win, Burnley are bang in trouble. Even more so than they are now.
I'm hoping against hope for something there for Norwich. I really am.
Yeah, he's unlikely, and I hate the fact that I want a Dean Smith side to do well because I can't stand him. He's a right knob.
Do you see that when Jesse Marsh said he hated him? He didn't like him or something because he didn't shake his hand after that game.
No.
So I don't know if it were that Dean Smith were too grumpy to shake his hand, or if it was Jesse that didn't shake his hand. But I'm guessing.
I can't see that being the case.
No, I'm guessing it was Dean Smith that were in a mood because he got beat late on.
But yeah, just in terms of the fixtures tomorrow, so we do have today we do have Brentford, West Ham. So it'd be nice for West Ham to tonk Brentford. That'd be good.
Yeah, we could do with that.
Leicester Palace, I think they're probably both. That's a bit of a dead rubber. They're probably both all right. They're probably both not going to drop into trouble. There's just too many sides below them that are going to play each other for them to have an issue now.
I will just say,
Norwich.
I will just say before you move to the next one, I made a tweet last week about TalkSport gushing over Vieira and the job he's done at Palace and saying he must be in conversation for manager. What the bloody hell's going on there? He must be in conversation. Fucking hell, man. He must be in conversation for manager of the year if he gets 9th with Palace. And I was like, are you joking? If Bielsa didn't win it, then he's not fucking winning it, is he? Bielsa got 9th with a team full of championship players. Vieira getting 9th would be with an experienced Premier League squad.
And to be fair, they're 4 points ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're actually raving about it. Yeah,
they can do one with that. I'm going to say something else before the end about the media and Bielsa anyway. So
Okay.
I'll let you continue.
No, that's fair. So yeah, we continue with the fixtures. The Norwich Burnley one we've already covered, and then it's Man City Liverpool, and I think I hate Liverpool, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I'm with you there, mate.
Yeah, I hate Liverpool. I hate the scum, and they're both playing red. And I just don't like them. They're from the wrong side of hills anyway. Man City are over there as well, but because they hate them both, I'd rather, if I have to choose out of any of them, if I have to choose somebody to win title, I want City to win it. So I want them to win today.
Me too.
And I want them to really, really rub it in Klopp's face.
Yeah.
You know, like a dog that's pissed on carpet. Let's have a bit of that. So I think in terms of future fixtures as well, so there's been a point made a couple of times in the comments. It's a while until we play now. And I think from a perspective of pressure and where that will land, there's a boatload of pressure on those sides below us. And they do have games in hand over us. But there's a boatload of pressure on them. And if they can't, and we play that game against Palace, if they can't put a run together, we go into that game against Palace knowing how those games in hand have gone. And that's a pretty big deal for us.
I'm just going to shout back to this comment from Bryson and Marty.
Yeah. We'd rather have points on the board. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
I'd rather give teams a mountain to climb and have to worry about not winning the games than have games in hand on people. Big time. Yeah.
You know, the pressure differential is so completely different in it. And you know, the points totals that they've got to overhaul. All right, Burnley have got 3 games in hand over us, but they are 9 points behind. They'll only be above us on goal difference if they win all of the games.
Exactly.
And that's replicating what the amount of wins we've had for the entire season. So
you just can't see it, can you?
You can't see it. And so I think just looking at the way that things are developing now, there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. But you know, we get to the end of the yeah, that's it. You know, we get to the end of the month, really understanding what it is that we need to do by the end of the season, and I think that's a pretty big deal. And you know, that game at the end of the month is Man City, and they are flying. But you know, equally, I think we can get a result against Palace. All right, albeit, hang on a minute, it is in London, so we do have a game in London. Then it's Man City. Then a game in London against Arsenal, and then Chelsea. So you know, it's not an easy run for us, especially when you take into account
we're in London. That's the fucking difference.
Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off!
And a shout out to him as well. He has now, I think the point it would be re-retired. He has retired again from football. Yeah,
forced into retirement.
But no, we are in a position where we've Palace away, Man City at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home. That's a tough run of games. It is. But if those sides below us don't win all of their games, we'll go into that Palace game with the again, even more confidence, knowing that there's some of that pressure off and we can just go and play our football. I think equally, if you look at the last couple of games, Brighton now, probably the pressure's off them a bit. And you know, they're in a position where that'll probably be a nothing game for them. They'll be mid-table. What we absolutely 100%, we've made the point plenty of times, 100% cannot afford to have is needing anything out of that Brentford game at end of season.
100%. I'm just trying to get the form table up. I just want to see where we are. 6th in the form table.
Yeah, and that's it's just amazing, really, when you think of where we'd been and where we've got to now. I think if you just consider that. So on transfer market from the last 5 weeks, we are 5th in the form table. And that does include 2 defeats in that form guide in that time frame. So if you reduce that down, you know, we'd go even higher in the table. We'd actually be joint with Man City, who have won 3 and drawn 1 from the last 4. Yeah.
We're 5th, so you know that's 6th.
Yeah. So that, you know, in terms of form,
the bottom 5: Watford, Southampton, Everton, Norwich, and Burnley. That
So,
can't be
you
right.
know,
Look, Burnley won, and that's not showing their win. That's out of date, that table.
it's a good reflection of in terms of that. I think you'd need to move it forward to 33 match day to be able to take into account this weekend.
Yeah.
So if
Well, the
you
one I
just
just
change
looked
the
at
third,
before, I think must be more up to date. That's got us sixth, but it's got
Right.
the bottom 5 of Brighton, Burnley, Watford, Southampton, Norwich on that one. So that must be
Fair
the
enough.
right one, because that takes into account Everton's win there, I think. Arsenal are 15th in the form table. I mean,
well,
what
they did
happened
get
to
beat
them?
by Brighton.
Well, I know,
Um,
exactly. They've gone just above Brighton by one place with that result. They were supposed to
Right.
be like, oh, we're Arsenal, we're back, blah, blah, blah. Arteta's got it right and he's imposed his style and it's great. We could get a result out of them the way they're going at the moment.
Yeah, potentially. And I think if you look at Spurs, Arsenal will be kicking themselves because Spurs are in a real rich vein of form. And I think they've probably
They finally seem
just
to have
about
clicked.
Yeah. And I think they've just about cemented a top 4 place for themselves now.
I think they'll get it now. Scum won't, which is ace.
Yeah. Obviously, poor result for them. And aren't we all disappointed for them?
Oh, I'm gutted, mate. Gutted for him.
So
I
think
raised a Yorkshire Polo mug to him.
there you go. Just about winding down, I think we made all the points I wanted to make. So just in terms of what else we've got going on, we did a podcast yesterday around the finances around Leeds. So we were joined by a couple of people that came on and jumped on. So Kieran Maguire from the
Brian.
Half joined, yeah. Kieran Maguire from the Price of Football, I think his book's called, but does a lot of breakdown of finances in football. Joined us and talked through Leeds and the various different elements and different approaches and views of those books. So we did that yesterday. So that's available on all good podcast platforms. And it
was very, very good.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting insight. I know. Yeah, he does, and it's a bit of a dry subject to a lot of people, but he's got such a good insight into things. It's good to be able to hear from somebody that does know it inside out and has put that work into understanding it all.
And it shows you just how well the club has actually been run, even if we don't always agree with some of the stuff that they've done. You know, from a financial perspective, they have put us on a really sort of sure footing. And we've not
Luke just asked him
years.
Luke just asked him the straight question of, do you think our club is being run well? And he said, yeah, unequivocally. Absolutely, 100% it's been run well.
I think I won't spoil it though for anyone. Go and have a watch and see what
absolutely.
It's interesting stuff.
It were good to do, and as you say, unfortunately, Graham had I think his mouse on the wheel died.
I think he were like camping in the middle of nowhere or something, judging by what he was sat in. It looked like a yurt or something.
Yeah. So so go and have a listen to that if you haven't. And you're at all interested in Leeds' finances and a non-Leeds biased view as well, I think is an important element to that as well. So and he's a Brighton fan, so he probably had a couple of beers last night. So fair play to him.
That's it.
Any other points to make before we go?
Yeah, there was one point I was going to make, which is a little bit of an auto bitter, I suppose. If you want to roll the video, just for the sake of it. Auto no bitter with Rachel Adedeji. Well, she's not on it, but the thing I was going to say, something that really, really irritated me yesterday. Now, I didn't actually watch it, but someone who was watching it texted me about it because I was on my way back from picking up my wonderful new shed, rock and roll lifestyle that I live. And they said that basically the pundits on Sky were saying about Everton and how none of it were Lampard's fault. None of it were his fault. He's never been in this situation. It's not his fault. Now, I'm sorry, but these same pundits absolutely laid into Bielsa for losing games and conceding goals and, it don't work and you can't come to Premier League and do this. He clearly doesn't know what he's doing, blah, blah, blah. His tactics are all wrong, but yet nothing's Lampard's fault. His tactics are not all wrong. It's individual mistakes. It's not his fault. I'm sorry, but that is absolute bollocks and just shows you the bias in the media in this country.
Yeah, and I think, he is the media darling as well, isn't he?
He is.
The fat, greasy little turd. But I think, Bielsa made himself an easy target by not excusing what had gone on, by not pointing out that refs had completely failed us.
He wouldn't argue with anyone, would he, about anything? So.
Absolutely not. And he would never throw his players under the bus either. It was all down to him. And that is completely diametrically opposed to Frank Lampard,
Correct.
who will willingly throw anybody under the bus. Yeah.
It's never his fault.
No, that's it. That's the England factor, isn't it? He played for England, and he's the media darling. Gerrard will get the same sort of treatment by the media. No two ways about it.
He probably will, but I don't think they've been as gushing about Gerrard. I don't know.
They massively talked up the season that Villa are having, and they're in 12th.
Yeah,
they're 3 points in front of us.
Yeah, they've dropped off now. I mean, it just annoys the hell out of me. It's just, how can you? I didn't want to see Lampard's post-match because I never want to see him, to be fair, but I just knew that his post-match were going to be somewhat along the lines of, oh yeah, we've worked hard on the training ground, the lads have done what I told them to do, blah, blah, blah. It's all down to me and my brilliant tactics because I'm a genius. And then next week when they get arseholed, hopefully.
Well, I told them what to do.
Yeah, he's going to turn around and say, they didn't do any of the stuff I told them. They just didn't. There's something wrong with these players. They're not up to task. They're not good enough. They need to look at themselves in the mirror. And then, that's it, back to fucking normal. And that is Lampard. And that's why I'd never want to see him anywhere near our club. I definitely don't want to see him managing England, although I kind of feel like that's inevitable.
It does feel that way. It does feel like that's going to happen.
He's fast-tracked to that, and that's where he'll be next. Whether he fails or not at his club jobs, and he's failing.
Well, yeah. How can you? He failed at Derby. Well, he didn't progress Chelsea at all, and I think progressed Derby backwards one place in the league, maybe. But so I think he's not had any success anywhere, and still got a job at a club like Everton. It's mind blowing.
It don't make any sense, does it?
I think the one good thing is Southgate seems to be really highly rated by the England setup. And for good reason, he's done well in the big tournaments, not just in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
So fortunately, Southgate is young enough for Lampard to go his whole career and not get in.
He's young enough to stay in the England job long enough for Lampard to confirm that he's not good enough.
Yes,
even though we already know that, but you know what the FA are like. But anyway, I didn't want to drag us on for too long. I just needed to get off.
No. It's a fair shout, and I think we can all revel in Frank's failures. So that's no bad thing at all.
100%.
Cool. Okay, we'll get a video going and we'll call it there. So thanks everybody that's been involved in the comments. Thanks everybody for listening and retweeting and getting on the channel and getting involved. And we do have the main podcast coming. That'll be on Tuesday night. So join us again then.
Look out for the predictions league.